Our corn is a pretty established tree. I would say probably 80 plus to be that size in that kind of condition. And there are a lot of variables that go into how trees grow in a particular spot. And that would be my best guess, probably plus or minus 15 would be reasonable on that tree. What I'd like to do for just a second is talk about a group of trees that's big and really hard to talk about, but I'm going to take a minute and try. I'm standing at the base of a flowering crab. Behind all of you, there's another flowering crab. It's a different variety. There are a couple groups of plants that there are so many plants in that family, it's kind of mind-blowing. And I would put crab apples probably at the head of that list. The thing with crab apples is, what do you like? Do you like white flowers in the spring? Do you like pink flowers in the spring? Do you like fall color? You don't want any fall color. Do you want something that's going to attract the birds? Do you want something that isn't going to attract the birds? Do you want little red fruits or do you want big red fruits? Do you want green fruit? It kind of gets to be a little much. So my best advice to you, if you want a crab apple, is make sure you look at the tag, or that you're dealing with a reputable nursery that can tell you, oh, this is going to be a white flowering spring variety that will not set fruit. Or this is a white flowering spring variety that will have reddish fruit. The fruit is important. Birds like it, squirrels like it. Some people use some of the crab apple fruits for canning purposes. It can be really nice, but it's a very difficult group of plants to feel like you're an expert in because there are so many subtle differences. In my favorite tree book, the crab apple family actually is listed over like 20 pages, and that's only the highlight. So it's kind of staggering how many different varieties there are to choose from. A couple things about crab apples are pretty consistent. They generally are a smaller tree. 40 feet is kind of maximum I've ever seen on a crab apple. They generally flower in the spring. There's a lot of different flower colors. They are pretty tough. They tend to be fibrous rooted, so they seem to do pretty well in a lot of different conditions. Vince, anything you'd add about crabs?
Just if you plant one in your yard, there's a lot of maintenance. They're kind of messy, so if you like the floral show and the birds and the fruit, that's great. But if you want a lower maintenance yard, it's not a good tree for you, which would probably be obvious, but
yeah, and actually, as I was walking up, I noticed that someone from our custodial staff has a broom over here, and you look at how clean the sidewalk is, I guarantee you somebody was sweeping on that today to have it be that clean. There are actually years where the fruit drop from these becomes a maintenance problem because it's getting tracked into the buildings and it's actually slip, people can slide on it. So even a tree that has some nice attractive qualities can be kind of a maintenance liability in the long run for us. So, again, crab's just a big group of different individuals in that group. Again, if you're looking at it, make sure you're dealing with someone that can either show you a tag. The nurseries are really good about putting a tag on the tree that'll give you a picture or some description of what it's going to be like, or that they can tell you a lot of information about it. I'd like to talk about one of my favorite interesting trees we have a fair number of on campus. To do so, I'm going to get up on the picnic table.
Right.
I'm standing underneath a catalpa tree. Catalpa is one of my favorite varieties that we have on campus. A couple things I like about the catalpa is it's a very tough tree. Once this tree is established, the maintenance requirements are pretty minimal. Catalpas grow at a moderate rate, but they also have very strong, hard wood. This is not a tree that is typically subject to a lot of storm damage. There are a couple other neat characteristics about this tree. One is the leaf size. It's a very large leaf, generally the size of your hand or even a little bit bigger. Another dead giveaway for catalpa is the long seed pods that look a lot like a green bean. I know I've done a lot of creative things with them over the years. They actually make a pretty good lawn dart if you're really bored. Catalpa in the fall does get kind of a yellow color. Some years it's a little more brown. Catalpa's got a long history on campus. There are actually some over near Old Main that were planted well over 100 years ago that are two of the biggest catalpas I've ever seen. And I'm hoping we'll get over there so I can point those out for you tonight. Catalpa's got an interesting characteristic too. The trunk is a very distinctive kind of platy bark. Also, the branches tend to be pretty strong. strongly attached to the tree. And catalpas generally tend to be kind of upright and narrow as opposed to broad, spready trees. I think on campus, Vince, we've had this discussion. Western catalpas we've got.
I think we have western and northern.
And northern. The northern catalpa is a little bit different than the western. A lot of times with getting down to the nth degree with plant material, you need to get 3 or 4 people that are tree experts, 3 or 4 tree books, and really wrestle it out. But what I like to say is we have catalpas on campus and they do really well. I also recommend them. Once they're established, they do really well with kind of minimal attention. And my very favorite thing about the catalpa is kind of a drawback. It is very late in the spring to leaf out. So a lot of times people think they're dead because it hasn't pushed any foliage yet. Then once it starts to foliate, it has one of the most unique flowers that you will see on a deciduous tree. The flower panicle can actually be 12 to 18 inches tall and is made up of 50 or 80 or even 100 these small little, no bigger than the tip of my finger, florets that look like little orchids. And they actually have a really fascinating, positive, peppery smell. And I'm always waiting for them to flower because when they do, I go and I grab one and I put it in my vehicle that I'm driving around campus in because I really enjoy that fragrance. And there's about a 2-week period where I have a little piece of a catalpa flower in the vehicle with me because I like the air freshener. Vince, I know you're a catalpa fan. Is there anything you'd add about it?
I really like the Windsor Habit. They can have a real serpentine kind of haunted house kind of feel to them that can be, I think, kind of cool. The bark can be interesting in the winter. And I think they're a great tree for Colorado. They're usually listed in literature as being slow growing, but in my experience on campus, they actually grow pretty quickly. And they're not as soft-wooded as a lot of other quick-growing deciduous trees. So I think it's a great tree for Colorado for your yard. It's good shade. Fairly hardy once it's established. I think this is a really nice tree for our state.
And I don't know of any insect problem that we've ever had really on the catalpas. They're off the top. Question?
Can you start them from seed? In other words, if you took a pod, there are catalpas all over town.
Yeah, good question. There are catalpas all over town. Many of the catalpas you might be seeing around town may be volunteers. We have a number of volunteers on campus. If we go back to talking about 1880 when campus is being developed, again, there's nothing on campus. So everything that you're seeing tonight as a tree has been planted on purpose, with some rare exceptions where it was a seed that blew in somewhere, that germinated, that no one ever had the heart to remove, that ended up being a tree. And I call those that's a volunteer tree, and they're very common in alleyways and sometimes in people's yards. And catalpa is a tree that sometimes does that. It is feasible. I'm not sure what the percentage rate of germination would be. I don't know a lot about tree propagation, but I know that sometimes with seeds there are a lot of bizarre things they have to do to trick the seed into germinating and being successful. Some trees, 2 out of 50 seeds would be viable. Some trees, 50 out of 50. It's a real sliding scale. My favorite thing though about the catalpa is just that seed pod. It's just a fun little tool. That's really all there is to it.
That's no fun.
Catalpa also has a really interesting root flare at the base. Always an attractive feature of it. And again, just a good tough tree, especially for Colorado. Let's head over this way. I'd like to point out a really unique tree we've got.
I always like